This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
I don't know. Why would they sit there and watch us talk into microphones and look at each other and look at your faces that you give me sometimes?
And co-host Marney Winfield.
In situations like that, if you take the time to weigh the pros and cons of your involvement in something, I think this is across the board with a lot of things in life. You know, does it make sense for me and my world?
It is the 19th.
The morning of the 19th.
Yeah. July. Thanks for the help there, hon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's July 19th, 2023. My name is Corey Winfield.
My name's Marney Winfield.
And welcome to 217 Recovery Podcast. Kind of early, sort of, apparently. Mm-hmm. The best part of waking up isn't talking for me, I guess. So, yeah, but we're here and we were talking in bed. And we were going through like where we were and what we did and how we got to where we were. And, you know, our stories are similar, but so different in the way we did things at the end. Mm-hmm. And for you, it was coming back. A familiar place, but it's not the place you grew up.
Right.
You know, but living with, you know, your mother and taking a job that didn't pay much, but it wasn't a bar, you know, you weren't bartending, you weren't waitressing, you weren't doing anything like that. And, you know, to take a job that at the time was weekend overnights, you know, something like that at the treatment center where you work now and where you have moved up. And at the time, though, it's hard for people to go, oh, I don't want to take that job. It doesn't pay enough. You know, you got to do what you don't want to do. Sometimes I say that a lot, you know, but for you though, you kind of wanted to do that. You had gone to school for social work. Like
I had already started my master's in social work. My undergrad was in audiology and speech sciences and a minor in psychology. So I had a bachelor's degree, but you know, the thing is so our cute little, our pillow talk is probably a lot different than most people in terms of like what we talk about.
Depends what day you catch me on.
No, it was about really thinking about my priorities at the time. And I had made the decision, and I talk about this when I talk about my story, is that it was me choosing to go to treatment for me. And it was no outside influence other than my internal desire to like figure out what the crap was going on with me and why I couldn't put down the bottle, you know? And so I had put all that work into it, and I had this investment in myself. And I was like, what does this look like for me to keep this going? Because so many times I had gone and I may have had like the spark of inspiration and like the possibility of sobriety was like there, but I never really followed through with all the stuff they tell you to do after. And there's a lot of stuff, and I didn't do all of it, but I knew I needed to keep that motivation going by continuing to invest in myself. And what did that look like for me? And so when it came to the job situation, I have a ton of experience serving. I've served in, anywhere from hole-in-the-wall bars to 4-star restaurants. And I've made a lot of money, being in the service industry. But going to tell you right now, and please don't be offended for those of you that are in the service industry, it's a culture that really caters to drinking and drugs. And, in my experience, I'm sure, definitely not all, but it's just for me.
They know. I don't think you offended anybody. I think they know. And
yeah. And so I knew what I couldn't do. I knew where I couldn't work, even if it was a place that didn't serve alcohol, which that does help. But I just knew I needed to change things up, and I needed to keep my focus on my recovery and what did that look like. And, there was an opportunity for me to, and it wasn't even like I took the job, like I'm going to get my foot in the door and then I'm going to like grow within this company. I was just like, what's a safe job for me right now? Like for right now, what's a job where I know that when I go in, I'm not going to have any sort of fear of having a drink put in front of me. And I'm not going to, if I hear anything about alcohol or drugs, it's about staying away from alcohol and drugs. It was very simple, very elementary, very kind of cut and dry reasons behind why I chose to take an entry-level position where all you really needed was a GED. And that's fine and good. You can get great jobs with a GED, and having that education is great. But that's where I was at. And I was just like, I did the get through today. Like, I just need to get through today. I need to keep things freaking simple. And, I was lucky enough, and I shared this with you this morning, I was lucky enough to have the support of my mom, who welcomed me back into her home after a very serious conversation about what expectations were. Because I had made promises many a time about my behaviors while I was living under her roof, which I did not abide by for, multiple times. So she was taking a chance on me again. And then after a minute, and I had chosen this job, she felt comfortable enough to let me use her vehicle to get to that job. And I literally was kind of on autopilot. Like, I went to work. I helped her with, simple jobs around her home. I really had a very, very small circle of people that I interacted with. And it was essentially my mom, my stepdad, Woody, and her friends. And then meetings in Sutton's Bay, and came to Traverse City for some meetings sometimes, but I kept myself busy. I started baking and stuff for her, and I was responsible for like making meals and, helped around best I could to kind of earn my keep there.
One thing that you said, I'm going to back it up to the industry, and you're like, oh, sorry. No, people know. People that are working in the service industry, they know. And some people, I think, and you probably did this a time or two, oh, I'm strong enough. Mm-hmm. No, I can work there and just not drink. Because, I remember what alcohol did to me. So, I'm just not, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. I'm fine serving people liquor all day. I'm cool with that. Mm-hmm. Until the day you're not, and maybe there are some people that can do that, sure. But it's a risk that you take, and is it worth it? At the end of the day, like, oh, I'm going to make $80 more a week if I work here, but there's a 70% chance that I will go back out very soon or within 6 months. Is it worth it?
Right.
I don't know. So they have to kind of weigh that out. And then you said you were talking about your mom letting you use your car, or her car. And it's not the fact that you're a bad driver. It's just that she knows, and she has seen it. It takes that and you're off. Mm-hmm. You could have a bad day at work driving home. You know what? I'm going to hit the liquor store. Mm-hmm. And I mean, so it's not just hey, here's the keys, oh, Marnie, she's a bad driver. No, it's not that, there's more into it for people listening. And they're thinking like, oh, well, why would she worry about that? Well, it's because like it can turn on a dime.
And it's not even like, oh, this is a possibility that this could happen, which that is true. But literally, she was going on experience like that. She's borrowed my car and said she was going to a meeting and like disappeared for what would have been the amount of time for a meeting. She doesn't know that I didn't go there, and came home and had, booze, and went straight to my room and was like, good night, have a good night. And then, that was all put together after the fact. So she knows. And I came out about all of that. And it was like, you don't have any reason to trust me, but I'm telling you, I'm asking you to. And, this was my Hail Mary for sure with her and living in her home. But, she had been like, are you coming back from treatment? Like, when are you planning on discharging? I'm like, I don't know yet. I'm sticking it out until I feel like it's time for me to go, So, she saw the effort that I was putting in. I had to keep that motivation. I had to keep that momentum going for it to be successful, and I still to this day need to keep the momentum going. It just looks different is all.
But it's amazing. And it's kind of funny how the conversation in the bedroom got started. We were playing Wordle, and today's word, which I'm not going to say, but it's a band name, and it's also something that I think probably you did. I did maybe a few times. You mix it with a certain kind of drink or something. And then I said, hey, honey, I'm going to give you a hint. And I started playing a song. If you could only see the... You're like, yeah, I've heard that song. I don't know who that is. And then you got it. And then you were like, oh, why didn't you just say blank and blank? Then I would have really got it. And that's how we kind of started our conversation this morning. And we just were like, man. Oh. And of course, we're very thankful. And, that we met each other. And that is a huge piece. But we both got tired of settling. We got tired of just... And I'm not going to call exes like trash, because my exes really weren't. There's a couple, okay, that probably were, but like it wasn't like some of your situations, which were just horrible. But to stop settling, and if I saw something I didn't like, I didn't have to just run down that road because, oh, someone says my eyes are pretty, or anything like that. And so I was like hell bent on not settling. Like I wanted to find someone who loved me like I love them. And, that was kind of huge. And, to fall for the wrong person sometimes, will really trip you up. And that's why they tell people early on, stay out of relationships, but you never really know.
Right.
If you don't listen, we wouldn't be together.
That's very true. Stay away from like unthought through relationships, like the quick fix kind of like, I'm just going to date somebody for the pure fact of dating somebody, or, you have to be selective and careful and protective of your recovery. That needs to be your number one, So.
Yeah. So just be careful with all that. And the way I did it was like I said, totally different. I don't think that place you went to treatment last time, they didn't have outpatient at the time.
I don't think so.
I don't believe so. It's not like you could continue. Of course, did you continue back in Traverse City, like outpatient or anything like that?
That's a good question. No, I didn't.
No, because you couldn't
I couldn't because I was working for them. No, I had not. My aftercare plan was I think I might have like had the number for like Catholic Human Services or something that I was going to follow through with. But then, I got kind of engrossed in like the going to meetings and then just working at the treatment center and staying busy with, healthy activities with my family. So that was my program.
And you learned that from other times, I'm sure.
Yeah, I tried outpatient. I've done outpatient so many times. And that's why I don't look at people that say I've tried that, it doesn't work or whatever. It's like, it's not the program.
Right.
It's not the freaking program, man. Like I hear what you're saying, and I get that the materials that they cover, like let's talk about relapse prevention, let's talk about life skills, like. But when you heard those words, when you were listening to those materials, were you processing that information with the brain of somebody that wants to go out into the world and stay sober? I know I wasn't.
But how much of it that, I was learning and hearing, because like you, I was trying to break a world record for outpatient meetings and stuff and appointments and groups. So I don't know if I was listening at the time, but I heard it, if that makes sense. Like,
no, it does.
There's a lot of things and a lot of conversations I had with people along the way that at the time I wasn't ready to hear it, or listen or whatever. But when I finally would start adding those pieces up, and that's why, like, when I talk to people today, I don't expect them all to get it. But in 3 years, 2 years, 6 months, if they think back, oh man, maybe I should do it like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that you're right. And I've also been the facilitator of groups where I'm looking around the room, and you probably can speak to this, where you're speaking to a group of people and you almost like can look amongst them and be like, this person has no intentions whatsoever on following through with anything that we're talking about. it's, I don't know if it's like an aura or if it's like their body language, or whatever it is, but it's just like, and then there's people, and like when you leave treatment is when the real challenge starts. We know people that have gone through treatment one time, and they get out there and then they just kill it. They're doing great, and other people keep going and going and going, and they'll walk out the doors of the facility and walk straight to the liquor store.
Yeah. It happens both ways. Just because you have a Wednesday at 2 outpatient meeting, it's not going to keep you sober.
Right.
There's that want. You got to want it. You got to have that desire. I was talking to a guy yesterday. He came to the office. He was there for the Dharma meeting. And he walked in. He's like, "What's up, Corey? It's been a minute." I was like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" And he was telling me, he got a job. And he's doing construction. He's doing great. And he started telling me his plans. And he's like, "This is what I want to do." And, I love doing construction. I love building things, love being outside. Like, he's like, "This is great." And, I got a car already. I'm going to get a house and blah, blah, blah. And he had goals. And, and he was talking about the Cherry Fest and his family wanting to come around and, him to go back out with them. And he's like, "No." And he said his cousin was over the next day or something. And he was like dry heaving because he was like, hungover, and he's like, "Man," he's like, "That's why I'm not doing that," And then he said his girlfriend was kind of getting messed up too, and he's like, "Why you got to drink?" But hopefully he can figure out that you can't change other people, and
right.
It's the people that you do hang around. Like, nobody likes being around drunks, especially if you're sober and you're hanging around a drunk guy or a drunk girl. It's a beating.
That's what's
It
up.
is.
You know what I'm saying?
It like sucks the life out of you.
So it does, and he's going to realize that. I would hope, and hopefully he's on the right path. But just to see that desire that he has in it, and I asked him about outpatient. He's like, "Oh no, I've been done with that." And like, I don't know if there's a set program that people complete or what, but he just said that he had to go to work and he'd get rolling on his desires and dreams. And if you're holding back from starting something because you got to go to a meeting once a week or something, I don't know. You have to kind of weigh what's best for you, and you're not going to be clean by going to like an outpatient meeting, but you're not going to be sober by not. I don't know. That doesn't make sense, does it?
No, it did.
It's what you put in your programs, what you put in your life. If you're going to this stupid meeting, as some people call it, and you're just sitting there looking outside, la, 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 playing on your phone, not even giving a shit. Why are you there? Well, because they say I have to be here. It's part of the program. Why don't you work it, bro? Someone was saying that he lives at a like sober living house or something. He's like, yeah, some of the guys, man, they're just bitching about how many meetings they got to go to. And they say they hate going to meetings. And I'm like, well, that's not a good sign. And I used to be like that, not want to go to meetings. But then when I got in sober living, I wanted to go to meetings. I wanted to get out there and I wanted to have fun at the meetings and I wanted to say silly things and wanted to have conversations with the guys that were going to meetings with me. And that was the beauty of sober living, is I got to be around other people and we got to talk and reflect. And a lot of those people didn't stay sober, but I did. Again, I used it for what I needed. I went to those meetings and used it for what I needed. For the people that are like, oh, I don't go to AA or NA or anything like that. I don't do that. Why? Why? It's a chance for you to get some shit off your chest. I didn't work the steps. I mean, I did at one point, but that wasn't my program. But what my program was being around other people that are like me. And that's what really made the difference. And, that's what's so great about the recovery center. We have a 217 recovery. It's the people can come in. There's multiple pathways that they can do. There's Dharma and living in recovery. There's recovery dads, which I think is a pretty awesome group. We made a couple t-shirts yesterday for Adam. Adam made his own. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I made him mad.
Why?
Well, because Adam's like a little buff dude, and but he put it like way up by the neck, the logo. And I guess that's what he was going for.
Well, that's his shirt, though.
But then Tyrone came in and was like, well, he said that. He was like, maybe you should just put that just a little bit lower.
He would.
I was like, well, Tyrone, it's already ironed on, so.
Yeah, we can't do anything about that.
It sure it is. But I was like, nope, that's how I like it. But
good for him.
The logo's cool. And I was talking to him and Justin. I was like, look, you guys start your own Facebook pages, and promote it, promote your meeting. Mm-hmm. And, get people to come and hell, everybody that comes to your meetings on Zoom, send them a t-shirt. Mm-hmm. Why not? Not a big deal. And we're trying to start an art group anyway. And I mean, there's so many different things. Podcasting is an art.
Yeah, it is.
Taking pictures, art. Video, art. It's all art. Mm-hmm. Making shirts, art.
Yep.
Painting things, art. Beads. Not those kind of beads. I'm talking about like beads for like, there's somebody listening thinking something dirty.
Probably not.
Probably now.
Probably now.
But no, like you can make little necklaces and bracelets, stuff like that. But there's so many different things that we could do. Making paper airplanes is art. Mm-hmm. How
we could have a crocheting class.
We could.
There's like so many people that pick that up.
Dan.
Males and females.
Remember Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people that are in recovery housing and I'm like, dude, they're like making me hats and like blankets and stuff. Like one of the girls was like, I'm just going to leave this blanket here for people that come. I'm like, you just rocked out just a big, huge crocheted blanket. Yeah.
I just thought of a great idea too for Recovery Dads meeting.
Okay.
And I'm going to suggest it to Adam, but I'll just say it's going to happen Sunday. God, I'm the boss guy.
Okay.
But what if they started what if on Sunday they watch videos on how to make like dinosaurs or something with paper mache or something
like crafts? Yeah.
Maybe princesses or how to draw a dinosaur, like something that they could do with their kids,
Yeah, that's because
Adam has a little daughter. Like, what would she like that daddy could just fold into here's a ring.
That's a good idea.
Like kids love that stuff. Mm-hmm. But that just stuff like that, the stuff that people don't really think about that could really change the game for you and how you feel with your kid. If you
or they can share things that they know how to do and that their kids love with the other people in the group. Yeah,
that's the beauty of that. And if a woman shows up, they're not going to make you leave.
Oh, just absolutely
throwing
not.
That out there.
No. Yeah.
It's not like a men's only meeting. It's just recovery dads. And it might sound weird, but we're not going to make anybody. Well, there's one person I would make not come into the place, but that's besides the point. But that's not you. Trust me. Yeah, you can show up to any meeting and no one's going to say, hey, get out of here. This is that only, unless it says women's only. If it's called women's only meeting, probably not. Or if it's called men's only meeting, probably.
I've been to women's meetings where dudes have strolled in.
And they throw them right out.
No, actually the ones that I was at, they didn't.
I've never heard of that. They must have been fine.
No, they were just like, no, you're welcome. You get what I'm saying? You're welcome to join today. Just so you know, for the future, it's women's only. But yeah.
Oh, it was in Charlevoix. It was like a movie. You open the door and then it was like, all the heads turning.
Probably because you showed up 15 minutes late. It has nothing to do with the fact that you were a male.
It was 2 minutes late or on time, as I call it. And yeah, they were like, this is women's only meeting. Get out of here. And I was like, okay. And everybody else that I've ever talked to that have walked into a women's meeting were told to leave immediately.
Right.
So that dude must have been hot.
Oh, it was like
just keep me
old
posted.
Dude. Nothing wrong with old dudes, but.
Whoa.
Man.
Okay, well, Marnie's into old dudes and we got to go. Hate to wrap it up on that one.
So not true.
If you're over 70, Marnie at 217recovery.com. She is married. But if you got money.
That's what's up. You know what I'm saying?
You're terrible.
I know. I have my moments. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the 217 Recovery Podcast. Listen on the 217 Recovery app. Download the app and rate us in your app store.